Salute to you, soldiers. My name is Josh N55, and welcome to a new series. I decided that it would probably be a little bit fun to have a new series that featured your not normal tech, whether it's weird, rare, or just really old. And today, I was lucky enough to get my hands on an iPhone 3G. The iPhone 3G was the second smartphone that Apple released after the 2G. They started out with their naming scheme off of the current network of the time. So when 3G came out for cell phones, they released the iPhone 3G. It was released in June of 2008. And it is pretty old, as you can see. Mine's not necessarily mint condition, but it's pretty good for being this old. I mean, there's only a couple scratches on the screen that I can see. But it has some very interesting tech that you might not see in your average everyday phone by today's standards. The screen is not even an LCD. It is a TFT capacitive touchscreen. It's very, archaic compared to the technology we have, but luckily mine actually works. And we get the classic old little, that sound. I miss that sound so much. And also that. But it still has the ringer switch, actually. The ringer switch never left the iPhone. The 2G had it, and the 3G also. I'm trying very, very hard to get a 2G, but it's it's either expensive or extremely hard to get one that's in condition that's even reviewable at this point. The camera on the back, this little guy, he is a whole 2 megapixel camera. Yes, 2 whole megapixels. For reference, the iPhone X that I'm recording on has 12. So, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but in camera, it is. So here, what we're going to do for a little comparison is I'm going to take a picture on my iPhone X of these cable ties. And you might be able to see a little bit of fuzz on my camera, but on this one, it's probably going to be a different story. Oh, man. And I just realized I'm going to have a fun time trying to get that onto my computer. But anyway, it has a single loudspeaker down here at the bottom and a microphone right here. It uses the old 30-pin charger that was found also on the first iPads. I think it went all the way to the iPad 3, and this was also discontinued with the iPhone 4S. That was the last one that featured that. It's got the 2 screws down here for opening. It's got a home button, an earpiece, but there is no front-facing or selfie camera. So if you wanted to take a selfie, you had to do it the old-fashioned way and just turn the phone around and hope it was pointing at your face. It has a plastic back. The 3G and the 3GS were one of the few iPhones that have plastic backs. The only other one was the iPhone 5C. But what was weird is the 5C had a plastic back because it was meant to be a budget phone. This had a plastic back, but this was the flagship of Apple in 2008. Another thing that you may have noticed is it has this metal ring around the front. This metal ring was only available on the 2G, 3G, and 3GS, and then it was discontinued past that. Not sure why, but it was a really good idea. The idea or concept was that if you were to place it face down, the metal ring stuck out a little bit to prevent your screen from being scratched, and that's how you get a 12-year-old phone with, 3 scratches on it. So, this one is on iOS 4 right now. The first ones, I believe, were native with iOS 2. So, with the first iOS versions, you didn't have any pages, there was no app store. What you had on the screen was what you got, and you were happy with it. But with this one, it does have pages. Double-clicking the home button actually does not open multitasking. Multitasking was not available until the iPhone 4. And so when you double-click the home button, you can actually set it to different things. So you could set it to just go home, as it would be the same as just clicking the home button once. You could have it go to Spotlight Search, your phone favorites, so kind of like a speed dial. You could go to Camera or iPod. Before it was called iTunes, it was called iPod, because at the time, iPods were just for music, and they wanted it to be symbolism of that. but later it was called iTunes, more universal. But yeah, you can see how much RAM it has when I just had to refresh, and this was the only thing that I had open right now. The CPU is a 412 megahertz little guy. That's not a whole lot, but granted, in these days, you weren't necessarily playing, Modern Combat 5 on it. And the 8 gigabyte model, like the one that I have right here, came with a whole 128 megabytes of RAM. The 16 gig model also came with 128 megabytes of RAM. That's not even a single gigabyte, which makes you thankful that they didn't have multitasking. It would probably not work well with the phone. And another thing that's interesting is the ratio at this time for phone screens was not really a specific, standard ratio. There was no 16:9 universality. There was just, this was actually a 3:2 ratio screen. Now get this. The amount of pixels on the screen is a 320 by 480. That's 165 pixels per inch, which leads to not that sharp of an image. However, back then it was pretty mind-blowing, being able to do that. And other things that were different back then, this phone retailed for $299 for the 8 gigabyte model, and $399 for the 16 gigabyte model. And one other thing that was different is 16 gigabytes seemed like a lot of storage back then, because it was, but by today's standards, 64 is kind of the lowest you can get without, losing your mind. But this thing, I'm really in love with the nostalgic, app design. Like, check that out. That is not seen anywhere else. You got your voice memos, you got your calculator. I miss the old photos and camera look in the App Store. I love this, just taking a time travel back to when things were more simple. And also, it even has the original YouTube on this. The original YouTube. I remember a time when I got my iPad 1. In fact, I still have that neat little guy. He's actually right here. If you want, I can do a review. He still works. This guy's a beast. But I remember when all Apple devices came with YouTube standard. Again, it was a different time back then. And this was very, not a whole lot of people spent a lot of time on YouTube back in that day, but times have changed. Everyone was about, get to where you need to be. You don't really want to be on your phone a whole lot. Alright, that just about does it for this video. There's one other thing I want to show you guys. Let me just pop open the SIM tray on this. That was the size of the SIM card back in the day. Our normal SIM cards are probably about, I'd say, a third of the size of those SIM cards. What's weird, though, is the actual contact, the gold on the back, is still the same size. So I'm not really sure why the plastic needed to be that big, but it was still there. Oh yeah, and also we have the extremely ancient headphone jack. It is still there as well. That's just about it for this review. If you liked it, please, I would greatly appreciate a like down below. If you want to leave any comments, what you liked about this video, what you didn't, so I can continue or drop a couple trends in my videos, just to, maximize the enjoyment of the videos to you guys. If you have any suggestions of any videos, games, tech review, anything like that, please let me know down at the bottom. That helps me greatly to let me know what you guys like. So I'm not really ruling anything out at this point. The sky's the limit. Just any game that you think you might want to see, any tech review. I'll do my best to try and make that happen, depending on how, doable that actually is. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get my hands on like a Huawei phone from, 2009 or whatever. But I will try. I have a couple other videos coming down with this weird tech review series. If you like these series, please let me know, so that way I can continue doing it with confidence that you guys are enjoying the series. But otherwise, that's about it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to take it easy, keep it breezy, and don't forget to laugh a little. At ease, soldiers.